11th graders. Hope you enjoy your snow day today. Um, so, I mean, we have e-learning. We're missing class, and there's some stuff we got to get through, especially 4B, right? You missed two classes. So, you're going to be expected to take some notes. There's going to be homework I'm going to expect you to have done for tomorrow. Um, just because, we got to keep rolling. So, um, for tomorrow, you should have practice 8 done. You don't have that yet. I'll have it posted in Canvas. If you have a printer, great, you can print it out and do it that way. If you don't have a printer, no worries. All the questions you should be able to just do on a piece of paper. So you can just do it on loose leaf or even do it on a page in your notebook if you want. But I am going to be checking practice 8 tomorrow, so make sure you have that ready. All right, so our goal for today is to use polynomial long division. 1B, you've already seen a little bit of that. We're going to kind of formalize it in notes. 4B, you haven't seen it at all, so this will be totally new for you. But I'll have you all taking the same notes. So 1B, it might look a little more familiar. Hopefully you already have some ideas of how to do it. There are some little things we didn't see last time that you'll need to add in. And 4B, this will be new. So make sure you're following along, taking those notes, and trying to understand. All right. And then our second objective is we're going to be able to use polynomial long division. So we're going to see how does it help us factor and solve the things we've been doing. One note I will make, I forgot to bring my iPad home, so I am using my computer to do this and like my mouse. So my handwriting's not great. I'm sorry about that. Do your best. If you have questions, please feel free to Teams me. But all right, let's jump in. So, oh, one other thing, yes. Um, Remember that you need to reassess by the end of quarter 3 on unit 3. So I am gone the last week of quarter 3. So that means you have to be reassessed by 3/21. You are running out of time. That is 3 weeks, including this week, which is because of today, really only one day, right? It's tomorrow because Friday there's no class. So um, you need to get working, right? Like if you have any questions about what you need to do to reassess, please reach out to me today. You're 11th graders. At this point, you need to be making those moves. I'm happy to support, but you got to make those moves. Do not come to me on that last day, the 21st, and be like, okay, what do I need to do to reassess? It'll be too late. So please talk to me if you need to reassess. All right, now let's actually jump in. So notes, let's in our notebooks or on a piece of paper. If you don't have your notebook, let's get this. So standard 4.3, we're talking polynomial long division. Um, Now 1B, again, you already saw this. 4B, we're going to set this up just like you would set up a long division problem in middle school. So we're going to divide 3x to the 4 minus 5x cubed plus 4x minus 6 by x squared minus 2x plus 5. And we're just going to do some long division, just the way you did it. So we're going to use the same symbol you used in middle school, right? We're going to use that like little long division symbol. We're going to put what we call the divisor on the outside. The thing we're dividing by goes on the outside. And then we're going to put the dividend, or the thing that we're dividing, on the inside. So 3x to the 4, 5x cubed, plus 4x minus 6. Now 1B, this is how you would have probably set it up based on what we did last class, which is what I would expect. But there's something we need to notice, and here's kind of the first new thing for 1B and kind of new also for 4B, is when we're dividing, we got to be careful. So what we want to do is we want to look at the thing we're dividing, and especially we want to look at our variables. So here we go from x to the 4 to x cubed to x to a constant, right? No x. Notice there's something missing here. X to the 4, x cubed, x constant. We're missing an x squared. So if we try to do long division like we did on last Thursday, it's not going to work, right? There's going to be a place where things get messy. So what we need to do, and what we always want to do first, let me see if it'll let me type, is the first thing we want to do is check for placeholders, which is basically, is there anything missing? So check for placeholders. And in this case, we need a placeholder for x squared because there is no x squared, right? So we're always going to want to check for placeholders. I would put that in your notes. So all we do, we go x to the 4, then we have x cubed. We're just going to put in a thing to hold the place of x squared. And since we don't have any x squareds, what we're going to say is plus 0x squared. And then we'll do plus 4x minus 6. All right. From here, 1b, you should be able to do the long division. So honestly, 1b, if you want to do the long division and then kind of like jump forward and make sure you got it right, go for it. 4b, you haven't seen this before, so we're going to have to talk through step by step how to do this. So how we're going to start is just the way you'd start normal long division, right? You look at the kind of the first piece, and you look at what you have in your divisor, and you say, okay, what do I need to do to divide, or what do I need to multiply x squared by to get it to match 3x to the 4? Or how many times does x squared go into 3x to the 4? Well, in this case, it would go in 3x squared times, right? So in order to get 3x to the 4, we need to multiply x squared by 3x squared. And now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply 3x squared by x squared, which gives us 3x to the 4. And we're going to multiply the 3x squared by the rest of the divisor. So 3x squared times negative 2x becomes negative 6x cubed. 3x squared times 5 becomes 15x squared. Right? So we just multiplied 3x squared times our whole divisor. All right. Now, when you did long division in middle school, you figured out how many times a number went in, you multiplied, and then you subtracted. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to subtract this whole thing. Now, the easiest way I think to subtract, and the way to think about it, is you kind of distribute this negative. So we're going to take this negative and we're going to distribute into all here. So this 3x to the 4 becomes negative 3x to the 4. That negative 6x to the third power becomes positive 6x cubed. And that positive 15x squared becomes negative 15x squared. We can get rid of this on the outside. So we distribute that negative so that we can now just combine like terms. So let's see. We have 3x to the 4 and negative 3x to the 4. Those are going to cancel. We have negative 5x cubed and positive 6x cubed. So that will become 1x cubed. And we have 0x squared and negative 15x squared. So that'll become negative 15x squared. Great. So we've subtracted. Now, just like in middle school long division, you finish subtracting, you're going to bring down the next number. We're going to bring down the next term. So we're going to bring down plus 4x. And we start all over. So we ask ourselves, okay, what do we need to multiply x squared by to get 1x cubed? What would I multiply x squared by to get 1x cubed? Well, that would be x, or 1x. So we're going to do plus x. And we're going to repeat. So we're going to do x times x squared, x times negative 2x, x times 5. So let's see. X times x squared becomes x cubed. X times negative 2x becomes negative 2x squared. X times 5 becomes plus 5x. All right. Now we're just repeating that, so we're going to subtract. So again, we'll take that negative and distribute it in. So x cubed becomes negative x cubed. Negative 2x squared becomes positive 2x squared. And 5x becomes negative 5x. Get rid of this. And we'll combine them up. So x cubed and negative x cubed cancel. Negative 15x squared and 2x squared becomes negative 13x squared. 4x and negative 5x become negative 1x. And then we're going to bring down the next piece. All right, and then we'll repeat again. So We got to ask ourselves, what do we need to multiply x squared by to get negative 13x squared? That would be negative 13. And then repeat, we'll distribute negative 13 times x squared, negative 13x squared. Negative 13 times negative 2x is 26x. And negative 13 times times 5 is negative 65. And repeat, so we'll distribute the negative, right? So that becomes positive 13x squared, negative 26, positive 65, and then we'll add them up. So negative 13x and positive 13x cancel. Negative 1x and negative 26x become negative 27x. And negative 6 and positive 65 becomes 59. All right, now 1b, you might be thinking, wait a second, this looks different. When we did this on Thursday, everything became zeros. So this is the second little thing that we didn't see last Thursday. And that is, what happens if, in the end, not everything cancels out? Now, again, if you think back to your middle school long division, well, if things didn't cancel all out, you just had a remainder. And that's what we're going to have in algebra 2 with polynomial long division. This thing, this negative 27x plus 59, is going to be our remainder. Now, the only thing is we can't write it as just like r negative 27x plus 59. We got to know what that means. So a remainder basically becomes a fraction. So our answer here, when we divide 3x to the 4 minus 5x cubed plus 4x minus 6, when we divide that by x squared minus 2x plus 5, our answer is going to be this thing up top. So I'll write it over here, 3x squared plus x minus 13. And then what we do with our remainder is we're going to add our remainder as a fraction. So we're going to say plus, we're going to make the remainder the numerator of the fraction, negative 27x plus 59. And then the denominator of our fraction is just going to be our divisor, x squared minus 2x plus 5. So this is our answer, right? So when we divide, we get this. 3x squared plus x minus 13 plus negative 27x over 59 over, or sorry, not over 59, plus 59 over x squared minus 2x plus 5. Right? So that's that long division process. Hopefully that looks familiar to 1b. 4b, we're going to see some more examples of this today, so don't worry if you're not totally catching along, but it is, or catching on just yet, but it is kind of just repeating the process. What do we need to multiply to get this first term? All right, distribute and then subtract. What do we need to multiply to get this first term? All right, distribute, subtract. All right, so that's polynomial long division. That's kind of the basics. Now let's look at how can we use this. So one way it's going to be helpful is with this thing called the, I got confused. I got confused about the order. So one way it'll be helpful is with some of those geometric problems, right? So we've been doing some geometric problems in this unit with like volume. Let's look at this one with area. So this says the area of a box is 12x squared plus 3x minus 14. Find the missing dimension. Well, if you know the area and you know one side, we can figure out the other side by doing some division, right? If we have area equals length times width, and we don't know the width, to get the width alone, we can just divide the area by the length. So let's do that. We're going to do 12x squared. Actually, I realized this had as a typo, so let's make that 13. So 12x squared plus 13x minus 14. And we are going to divide this by 3x minus 2. All right, so let's divide. Again, if you think you can do this on your own, go ahead, try it, and then skip ahead and see if you got it right. If you want to see the step-by-step, stay around and watch the video. So let's see. We need to see, what do I need to multiply 3x by to get 12x squared? In this case, 3 times 4 is 12, and x times x is x squared. All right, so we'll distribute. 4x times 3x is 12x squared. 4x times negative 2 is negative 8x. All right. Then we need to subtract. So we'll do that. Distribute the negative. 12x squared becomes negative 12x squared. Negative 8x becomes positive 8x. And then we will combine them. Right? So 12x squared and negative 12x squared cancel. 13x and 8x will become 21x. And then we'll bring down the negative 14. Okay, and then we start over. So what do I need to multiply 3x by to get 21x? Well, that would be 7. 3x times 7 is 21x. 7 times negative 12, or sorry, negative 2 is negative 14. We'll subtract. Distribute the negatives. So that becomes negative 21x, positive 14. All right. And then combine. And in this case, all of those are going to cancel, right? 21x and negative 21x cancel. 14, negative 14 and 14 cancel. So in this case, there is no remainder. So this one's nice and easy. Find the missing dimension. In this case, our missing dimension, our width, is going to be 4x plus 7. Great. Not too bad. Awesome. So, right, we can see that long division. In this case, right, we didn't need any placeholders because our thing we were dividing just went from x squared to x to a constant, right? There was no missing pieces there that we needed to put that 0 in for. So this one was pretty easy. All right, let's look at another way we can use this. There's kind of 2 more ways we're going to use this. I know this is a longer video, but I mean, we're missing a 100-minute block, so I'll keep it under 100 minutes. That's my promise to you. So one of the other ways we can use this is with this thing called the remainder theorem. So let me make this bigger. So the remainder theorem says if a polynomial f of x is divided by x minus k, then the remainder is f of k, which I know sounds really confusing, but take a minute, write that down. Pause the video, write it down, and then we'll talk about what that means. All right, so hopefully you got this right now. So let's just dissect the sentence. If a polynomial f of x, so if you have some polynomial being divided by this, x minus k, then the remainder is f of k. So let's think about that with numbers. Let's think back to algebra 1. If I asked you to find, I don't know, let's pretend I gave you f of x equals 2x plus 4, right? We're going to go real simple, 2x plus 4. If I asked you to find f of 3, all that means is plug in 3 for the x, right? So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. F of 3 would be 10, because I plugged in 3 for the x. What this rule is saying is if you divided f of x by, in this case, x minus 3, your remainder should be 10. It should be the same thing as what you get when you plug in. So this is going to be kind of one way that, if I'm being honest, we're not going to use a whole lot, right? We're normally going to use substitution to figure this out, but it is something that could work. And we'll do at least one example, right? So it's saying use long division and the remainder theorem to figure out f of 5. Now, again, if you have a calculator, the easy way to do this is you just plug in 5 for the x's. The thing is, if you don't have a calculator and you're like, oh shoot, I don't know what 5 to the 3rd power is, using this division might be an easier way because your numbers are probably going to stay smaller. So let's do this. So we're going to do, right, in order to figure this out, if a polynomial is divided by x minus k. So in this case, our k, the thing we want to plug in is 5. So we're going to need to divide by x minus 5. So let's do that. So we'll do x minus 5. We're going to be dividing 2x cubed minus 10x squared plus 2x plus 3. Now let's just check, do we need any placeholders? And in this case, we got x cubed, x squared, x constant, so we don't need any placeholders. All right, so again, at this point, if you're feeling confident with division, go ahead and divide and skip ahead to see if you're right. If you're not, stick around, watch the steps. So what do I need to multiply? Oops, that's supposed to be blue. What do I need to multiply x by to get 2x cubed? It would be 2x squared, and then we'll distribute 2x squared times x, 2x cubed, 2x squared times negative 5, negative 10x squared. All right, let's subtract. So we'll distribute that negative, and then we'll combine. So let's see, 2x cubed and negative 2x cubed cancel. Oh, and negative 10x squared and 10x squared cancel. So in this case, both those cancel out. So what we're going to do is instead of just bringing down one of these, 2x, because both canceled, we're going to bring down the next two. Save ourselves a little time. All right. So now we have, what do we need to multiply? Uh, what do we need to multiply x by to get 2x? Well, that's just going to be 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Subtract, distribute the negative. All right, and then we can combine. So 2x and negative 2x cancel. 3 and 10 become 13. And now, can I multiply x by anything to get 13? Well, no, because x, right, has a variable and 13 doesn't. So 13 is our remainder. So according to the remainder theorem, f of 5, if we plugged in 5, we will get 13, right? Now, again, with this, I know this is not the most efficient way, right? If I ask you to find f of 5 on a test, I'm just going to expect you to use your calculator and plug in 5 to get 13, right? But again, if you don't have a calculator, this is kind of a useful technique where notice the biggest thing I needed to know was 2 times 5, right? Super simple. Uh, I didn't need to know what 5 cubed was times 2 or 5 squared times negative 10, right? This was a way that without a calculator, it was a little easier to do. All right. Where the remainder theorem, that idea is going to be most useful is when we're trying to figure out if something is a factor, right? So we can use the remainder theorem to determine if something is a factor of a polynomial. And basically the big idea is if it is a factor, when we divide, we should have no remainder. So let me even add to this. Um, something is a factor of polynomial. It is a factor if the remainder is 0. The remainder 0, when you divide, that means something's a factor. So let's check this. Is x plus 5 a factor of the polynomial? So let's see. What we're going to do is we're going to divide. If our remainder is 0, then yes, it is a factor. If the remainder is not 0, then no, it's not a factor. All right. At this point, I've talked through 3 of these, so I'm just going to kind of silently solve it here. So what I would suggest is pause it, and then if you pause it, try it, see if you get a remainder 0. If you do, then it is a factor. If you don't, it's not a factor. Then unpause and see if what you did matches what I did. All right. So I'm going to divide it here. Let's go. Save myself a little time. Let's just copy that down there. I'm going to divide by x plus 5. Okay, that'll be x squared. Distribute, that'll be x cubed plus 5x squared. So I was going to do it silently, but I lied. distribute that negative, and then combine. So we got those cancel, that'll become negative 7x squared, bring down the negative 33x, and then let's repeat. What do I need to multiply negative 7 by, or x by to get negative 7x squared? That would be negative 7x. Let's see, that would be negative 7x squared minus 35x. We're going to subtract, so let's distribute the negative. That becomes positive 7x squared, positive 35. Need a little more space. Let's combine. Negative 7 and 7 cancel. Negative 33x and positive 35x will become 2x. Bring down the 10. And what do I need to multiply 2x or x by to get 2x? It would be 2. That becomes 2x plus 10. Distribute that negative and combine. So 2x and negative 2x cancel. 10 and negative 10 cancel. So in this case, we have a remainder 0. So is x plus 5 a factor of the polynomial? We would want to say yes. X plus 5 is a factor. And we can even add in some reasoning, right? If we had to justify that, we could say, yes, it is a factor. Because, let's do this. Because the remainder is 0. There we go. So in this case, yes, x plus 5 is a factor of the polynomial because when we divided, we got a remainder of 0. All right, nice. We got one more thing to look at, and then you'll be free to go try it on your own. And that is, how do we actually now use this information to help us factor, right? So last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how does division help us with factoring? How does it work with factoring? And basically the main idea is if we know one factor of a polynomial, we can use division to help us factor, even when our other methods wouldn't work. So let's look at what I mean with that. And if you don't write this sentence, that's fine. But let's get this example. So it says factor the polynomial completely given one factor is x plus 5. All right, so we want to factor this thing completely given that one of the factors is x plus 5. Now, if we think about our current techniques, right, we have, we can always check for simple factoring. We have our special cases for 2 terms, RS for 3 terms, and grouping for 4 terms. If you look at this polynomial, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. We don't have anything for 5 terms. So what that means is I needed to tell you one of the factors. And luckily I did. I told you, hey, one factor is x plus 5. We are going to use that to factor this thing completely. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by dividing it. So let's divide this thing by x plus 5. Divide it by x plus 5. All right, well, actually, let's check first. Do we need any placeholders? So we go from x to the 4 to x3 to x2 to just x to a constant, so no placeholders. So let's divide. So what do I need to multiply x by to get x to the 4? That'd be x cubed. Let's distribute. So that's x to the 4 plus 5x cubed. Again, if we distribute the x cubed to both pieces. All right, let's subtract. Distribute the negative. All right, and combine. So x to the 4 minus x to the 4, that's going to become 2x cubed. And then we'll bring this down, plus x squared, and let's go again. So what do I need to multiply x by to get 2x cubed? Well, that would be 2x squared. Let's distribute, so that becomes 2x cubed plus 10x squared. All right, so let's subtract. Get rid of the negative. All right, and combine. 2x cubed and negative 2x cubed cancel. x and negative 10x squared become negative 9x squared. Bring down the negative 63x. All right, and let's keep on keeping on. What do I need to multiply x by to get negative 9x squared? Well, that's negative 9x. Distribute, that'd be negative 9x squared minus 45x. All right, distribute the negative, that becomes positive, that becomes positive. So let's see, we got negative 9x squared and 9x squared cancel. Negative 63x and positive 45. That's going to become negative, what is that? Negative 18, I think. Negative 18x. Bring down the negative 90. All right, and then what do I need to multiply what do I need to multiply x by to get negative 18x? That'd be negative 18. That becomes negative 18x. Negative 18 times 5 is negative 90. And when we distribute that negative and combine these will all cancel out to be a remainder of 0. Great. So we just divided this polynomial by x plus 5 and got this thing. So what that means is we've kind of done one step of factoring, right? This thing, let me copy it, Control C. This thing is going to be the same thing as if we just have, let's see if I can type it, x plus 5 times what we got, right? So we had x plus 5 times this, our answer should equal the thing we started with. So we have x plus 5 times x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18. So with those exponents, it might be hard to type quick, so I'll just write it. So it was the same thing as x cubed plus 2x squared plus 9x minus 18. So we've done our first step of factoring by using the long division, right? So it says to factor completely. We're not done. But now we have the skills we need, right? So x plus 5, that's 2 terms, but it's none of our special cases, so we can't do anything with that. But now this piece is 4 terms, and we do know what to do with this, right? So 4 terms, we're going to use factor by grouping. Cut it. So let's see, on the left side, we can take out an x squared, and we'll have x plus 2 left. On the right side, we can take out a negative 9. We'll have x, let's see, negative 9 times positive 2 is negative 18, so x plus 2. These are the same, which is a good sign, so we can bring that to the front. We'll have x plus 2 times x squared minus 9. Let's bring down that x plus 5. Great, and now we should again check, can we go any further? So x plus 5, 2 terms, not a special case, so no. X plus 2 is 2 terms, not a special case, right, because there's no exponent. X squared minus 9, 2 terms, but is a special case, right? This is a difference of squares. So last thing we're going to do here is you put all this together, right? So what squared equals x squared? Well, that's x. What squared equals 9? Well, that's 3. So this will become x plus 3, x minus 3, and we'll bring down our other factors, x plus 2, x plus 5. All right, so I think this thing is totally factored. Let's do some quick checks. Well, first of all, our original was a 4th degree, and we have 4 factors, so that's a good sign. And if I wanted to be 100% sure, what I could do is I could solve this, right? So x equals, this would give us negative 5, negative 2, negative 3, positive 3, and I could plug them in, and, right, because of our remainder theorem, if we're right, that should give us zeros if we plug them in. So that's how I could check. But this video has already gone long enough, so I'm not going to have us check those. That would be that. All right. So in this video, we did a lot, right? Let's just kind of recap. We looked at how to do polynomial long division, right? So that was new for 4b. For 1b, that's not totally new, but there's some new things, right? Those placeholders and a remainder. We looked at some ways we could use it with like a volume or an area problem. We looked at the remainder theorem and really saw, okay, if our remainder is 0 when we divide, that means we have a factor. And then we used that to see how we could factor things, even if our rules that we currently had didn't work, right? So here we had a 5-term thing, and we used long division to make it become a 4-term thing that we knew how to factor. All right, so last thing, just a reminder of what you need to do. So for tomorrow, please have practice 8 done. Again, it'll be on Canvas, a digital version. If you want to print it, that's great, print it. If you can't print it, just do it in your notebook. So have practice 8 done, and then just give a quick response to this Canvas assignment of what was this video about. Prove to me you watched it. Here's what I'll say. To prove to me you watched it, in your response, just include the word elephant. It can be totally random in there anywhere, but prove to me you watched this. Just at the end of your response, include the word elephant. All right? Otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow. Stay safe, stay warm, and have a good day.